Wednesday marked the 6th-year anniversary of the Iranian Nuclear Deal. Due to deteriorating relations between Tehran and Washington, the Trump administration in 2018 withdrew from the JCPOA, an agreement that lifts sanctions on Iranian exports in exchange for a cessation of nuclear capabilities development. Since April, Tehran and Washington have engaged in indirect talks to restore the original 2015 accord. Although Iran's new hardline president-elect Ibrahim Raisi has expressed willingness to resume Iran's obligations under the deal, prospects for a comprehensive agreement between the parties remain dim. Beyond Tehran halting its latest nuclear progress, the US and its Western allies are likely to press for additional terms aimed at barring Tehran from aiding militias in the region, namely Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Assad regime in Syria, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Because Iran does not acknowledge that it funds such groups, expect Tehran to hesitate to negotiate on these terms, fearing that such concessions would drastically alter Iranian foreign policy in the Middle East. German Chancellor Angela Merkel met with US President Joe Biden on Thursday. The two leaders highlighted the necessity of strengthening their bilateral relations within NATO's framework, which faltered under the Trump administration. Biden also indicated Washington's reservations regarding the Baltic Sea Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, whose construction is nearing completion. US officials are concerned that the new pipeline route might increase the EU's dependency on Russian gas and damage Ukrainian national security. Biden and Merkel emphasized their agreement on key points such as easing COVID-19 related travel restrictions and mounting a tougher stance against Russia. To that end, Biden will likely pressure Merkel to boost Berlin's spending on NATO's defense budget in the short term. Regarding the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, the two leaders were unable to reach an agreement. The Chancellor will likely continue to assert that the gas deal is solely for business purposes and lacks negative security implications.
We have talked about Russia and Ukraine. We also talked about Nord Stream 2. We have different views on what this project entails. But I want to make it very clear. Our understanding was and remains that Ukraine remains a transit country for natural gas. That Ukraine has a right, like any country, to territorial sovereignty.
Moreover, the pipeline is crucial to Germany's long-term plan of increasing natural gas imports to reduce its reliance on coal. As a result, President Biden will maintain the sanctions imposed on companies associated with the project. After demonstrations began south of Havana on July 11th, the streets of 40 different cities across Cuba erupted in protests against chronic food insecurity and power blackouts. The government, led by President Miguel Diaz-Canel, blames the humanitarian crisis plaguing the country on foreign powers such as the US trade embargo and 243 different sanctions imposed under former President Trump, which the Biden administration has neglected to remove. Many Cubans, both in the US and on the island, have also engaged in anti-government demonstrations, calling for greater freedom of expression and tolerance for political activism. In the midst of a spike in COVID-19 cases, which drew further crackdown from state police, the protests led to the detention of more than 100 activists. While Cuba will retain backing from traditional allies China and Russia, Washington will continue to oppose the Cuban government, with Biden refusing to allow remittances or travel to the island nation, and stipulating that humanitarian aid would only be sent with assurance against government interception.
There are a number of things that we would consider doing to help the people of Cuba, but it would require a different circumstance or a guarantee that they would not be taken advantage of by the government.